Okay, so if you're in marketing, you have definitely seen them by now. The new dashboards for generative engine optimization, or GEO. They are popping up everywhere, promising to measure your AI visibility with these really familiar-looking scores and charts. But what if I told you we're all reading them completely wrong? I mean, it happens so fast, right? 1 minute GEO was this kind of niche academic idea, and then boom, suddenly it's the new frontier. Everybody's talking about optimizing for ChatGPT and Gemini and Perplexity. And of course, with that comes a whole new set of numbers that we're supposed to get up and to the right. And here's the thing, chasing these new scores, it feels right. You know, it feels like we're finally getting ahead of the curve for once. But there's a fundamental misunderstanding at the very heart of how we're talking about GEO right now. And honestly, it changes everything. To really get a handle on these new metrics, you have to start with one simple but absolutely critical question. Where does all this data actually come from? And maybe more importantly, where does it not come from? Because this is the part that gets glossed over way too often. Just let that sink in for a second. Conversations with ChatGPT, they're private. Google doesn't separate out its AI overview data in Search Console. There is no official fire hose of real user prompts or brand mentions for anyone to just plug into. This right here is the single most important fact in this entire conversation. So if there's no official data, where in the world are these scores coming from? Well, they come from simulation. Think of it like this. GEO tools basically act like super users. They run thousands, sometimes hundreds of thousands of pre-written questions through the AI models just to see what they spit back out. It's really the only thing that's even possible right now. And that distinction, it is everything. These tools are not showing you analytics from real people having real conversations. They are showing you the patterns from a controlled, lab-like experiment. They are revealing the tendencies of the AI model, not the reality of what your customers are actually experiencing. Okay, so once you really get your head around that great data void, all those metrics on the shiny dashboards, well, they start to mean something very, very different. They might use the language of SEO, but trust me, their meaning is not the same. So let's take the most common one, the AI visibility score. It sounds like reach, right? It sounds like impressions, but it isn't. It's just a measure of how often your brand popped up within a vendor's own controlled set of test questions. I mean, think about it. Two different tools could run totally different tests and give you completely opposite scores. And this disconnect, it's across the entire board. Share of voice sounds huge, but it's really just your share of a very specific simulated group of prompts. Sentiment score doesn't actually measure how users feel about you. It measures how the AI describes you in its test answers. And as you're about to see, that description can be positive, but just factually totally wrong. This is the new mental model you need. These numbers are not ground truth analytics like what you get from Google Analytics or your CRM. They are modeled indicators. They point to potential patterns, they suggest certain tendencies, but they do not and cannot reflect actual user behavior. Okay, so the data is modeled. You might be thinking, what's the big deal? Well, the real risk here isn't just about wasting your budget chasing a phantom score. The real danger is that a good score can actively hide a much, much bigger problem. So just picture this. You get your brand new GEO report, and wow, it looks fantastic. Your visibility is high, you've got a strong presence. The AI is describing your brand with super positive sentiment. It feels like a massive win, right? Time to celebrate. But then you actually go and read the AI's responses. And you find it's hallucinating product features you don't even offer. It's quoting completely wrong prices. It's putting your product in a totally different category. The scorecard looked great, but the reality? It's actively damaging your brand's credibility with every single answer. This right here is the absolute core of the issue. Being mentioned by an AI is worthless if the information is wrong. Actually, you know what? It's worse than worthless. It's actively harmful. It erodes trust way faster than not being mentioned at all. So if chasing scores is the wrong game to play, what's the right one? Let's pivot from the problem to a grounded, practical strategy that we know actually works. What's interesting is that the independent research is pretty consistent on this. AI models lean heavily on the same old signals of authority and trust. Things like earned media, fresh content, and really clear, structured information with stats and quotes. They love that stuff. Does that sound familiar? Because a lot of this is just really good fundamental marketing and SEO. So here's what a pragmatic checklist looks like. First, focus on quality content and building real authority. Then, use these GEO tools not to chase a score, but to spot patterns or to find those dangerous inaccuracies we just talked about. And maybe most importantly, track what you can actually measure, like referral traffic from AI platforms and the factual accuracy of what they're saying about you. All right, so armed with this new understanding, you're now equipped to have a much smarter, much more effective conversation with any vendor in this space. So what should you be asking to separate the real experts from the hype artists? These questions cut right to the chase. A good GEO tool or agency will be totally transparent that they use simulation. They'll have a clear, thoughtful answer for how they handle the natural randomness of AI responses. And they'll focus on connecting what they do to real business outcomes, not just some proprietary score they made up. So look, here's the big takeaway. We need to completely reframe our goal. The objective isn't to win some kind of visibility game that doesn't really exist. The true objective is to become so clear, so consistent, and so authoritative online that AI models simply can't help but understand and represent your brand correctly. And that's really the question to leave with. In this new age of AI, simple visibility is a trap. Being understood, that's the only thing that's actually going to build trust, drive business, and create lasting value. So ask yourself, is your brand just being seen, or is it truly being understood? This is the gap Akii was built to address, not treating GEO as a leaderboard to climb, but as a diagnostic problem to solve, looking past whether a brand simply appears and focusing on what AI models are actually saying, where that understanding is accurate, where it breaks down, and how it compares to competitors. Just as importantly, it means being honest about the limits of the data. There's no feed of real user conversations. What is possible is identifying patterns, misrepresentations, and missing trust signals, and turning those insights into concrete action. So the better question isn't, how visible are we? It's this: why do AI models trust certain brands enough to recommend them, and what signals are we missing? That's the work that actually compounds. And that's where AI visibility turns into real advantage.